Hello, welcome to BODHI Yoga Online. I'm Krista Cahill, and this morning we're going to do a 90 minutes vinyasa flow. This is Chris. He's going to be helping me demonstrate the postures. So I invite you to come to your yoga mat, and we're going to start in child's pose. So get whatever you might need, a block for your forehead or a cushion for your ankles. Rest your shoulders, your arms back by your hips, and just take a couple moments and breathe. With each inhale, you're just trying to create a little bit of space. Finding the deepest release you can when you exhale, so letting all that energy out of the body each time. Allow the weight of your hips to release down. This will start to stretch gently the lumbar muscles. Last 2 breaths. And with your next inhale, lift your gaze, reach your arms out in front of you. Stretch your fingers in the exact same direction as your thumbs, so you have 10 energetic, elongated appendages that you can pull back from with the palm of your hand, and to use that to help the weight of your hips become a little more released. And now press those hands down. Allow the underside of your forearms to gently lift. And maintain as much of the lift in the forearms as you can, bringing your hips up slightly to tuck the toes under. Press your body back when you're ready. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha. And for the first down dog, you are very welcome to explore with bending the knees. And taking one leg slowly to straight and then changing. Maybe keeping the knees a little bit bent will give you some added height, elevation in the hips. The more you can draw the hips up towards the ceiling and back towards the wall behind you, the more you'll be able to stretch and elongate the spine. Last few breaths here. And now you're going to walk your hands halfway to your feet. Take a pause there in the little mini shortened version of down dog. And try your best to enable the sides of the thighs to lift, the fronts of your knees, back of the knees, even the inside edges of your legs to get a little bit taller. And as the legs lift up, you might be able to reach your heels all the way down to the yoga mat. Pressing the heels, the inner heels, the outer heels. And now continue walking your hands back towards your feet. Grab your elbows and take a couple breaths here. Again, bending the knees is usually one of the better ways to stretch the lumbar. And spreading the toes. So each toe, the big toes moving towards each other, the little toes way out to the side. And then change the elbow clasp. Send your breath into the sides of your ribs so you get into that lateral diaphragmatic breathing here. And then when you're ready, release your fingertips down. Inhale, come halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. And you're going to walk your hands halfway to down dog. So keep your legs, if it's possible, in as upright a position as you can here. Maintaining the feeling of the sacrum releasing away from the lumbar spine. And then the spine can engage and start to move away from the hips, giving you that added length. Keeping your legs as solid and as active as you can. Continue walking your hands until you reach your normal downward facing dog length. And stretch all the fingers, including the thumbs, in the same direction. So you really do have a sense that the entire energy of the hand is pressing down. The fingers reach forward and the palm of the hand pulls slightly back. Last 2 breaths here. And you're going to continue moving the hips, sacrum back, lift your gaze up and shift into plank position. Pause here at the top of the push-up. You might need to adjust the stance a little bit so that you can have your toes underneath your heels and your hands maybe just a few centimeters in front of your shoulders. Last 3, 2, draw upwards from the inner arms to the shoulders, downward facing dog, hugging the forearms gently in. Continue pushing the hips back, lift your gaze, shift again into plank. Okay, this time we're going to show just with the knees on the ground, plank as a variation here. Okay, point your toes behind you. And take a big breath in. The shoulder blades move away from the ears, and then you're going to bend your elbows and lower just to this modified chaturanga position. Press the floor away, straight arms to plank. We'll do this a few times, just lowering as you exhale. Pause, inhale, come up. Last time, shoulder blades away from the ears, bend your elbows, hover. Inhale, straight arms, curl your toes, lift your knees, downward facing dog as you exhale. Inhale, look forward, and you're going to walk your feet to your hands all the way at the top of the mat. Find elongation, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Descendant Uttanasana. Open the arms, external rotation, reach upwards, lifting your spine. And arms down, Samastitihi. So take a couple moments, Tadasana. You're always welcome to separate your feet a little wider apart if you need a different variation or just to change your practice a little bit. If you have pain or stiffness in the lumbar, having your feet a little wider can also give you some advantage. Once you have organized your feet in a way that works for your practice, push down with that big toe knuckle. And at the root of the big toe, as you push down, draw a line of energy to your outer heel and press the outer heel down into the ground. So here you have a diagonal line of energy from the big toe to your outer heel. And now drop your awareness into the baby toe knuckle and press that down. And do the same thing. Draw a diagonal line of energy to the inner part of your heels, pressing it down. So where those 2 diagonal lines of energy cross is in the center of your foot at the very, very front of your ankle or front of your heel. You can try to observe what happens when you bring the center of your pelvis above that place where those 2 diagonal lines meet. So this is the splittable joint in the foot, where the joint is split heel in the back and then the toes in the front. And by reaching the toes forward, stretching the heels back, you're going to open up the circumference of your foot and be able to press down into the earth a little bit more. So all of this generated intention of going down is going to be equal in terms of units of energy of what your body can rise up with. Letting go of any manufactured tension in the shoulders or your jaw, your forehead. Let the energy simply rise through your body as if your body has become a channel between earth and heaven. Last 2 breaths. Keeping your pelvis here, your shoulders relaxed. Rotate your arms until you feel full external rotation. And on an inhalation, lift your arms, lift your spine, Urdhva Hasta. As you exhale, maybe you bend the knees, bring your abdomen all the way down to rest on your thighs, relax your head, Uttanasana. Inhale as you come halfway up, Ardha, and plant your hands down completely flat. Lift your inner shoulders up and then march one leg and then the other all the way into plank position. Stretch the fingers as much as you can. Push the whole floor, mat away from you, and your chest will lift up in the opposite direction of the hands pushing down. Take a very long inhale, and with the shoulders moving away from the ears, slowly lower all the way onto the yoga mat with control until you reach the belly. Point the toes, and we're going to come into Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Stretching your toes, legs back, feel the sacrum release away from the lumbar, and now you're using your two hands to gently draw the spine forward. Do your best to connect with the energy of going in two directions. Pelvis, legs going back. So the sides of your spine all the way up to your ears going forward. Last breath in here. And as you exhale, release completely down. Curl your toes all the way under. Feel free to come up with your knees bent for the modification, or if it's possible, begin the plank from your sacrum lifting up and come all the way into plank. And exhale back, downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here. So even if you need to widen your feet a little larger than the hips, that's okay. If you need to take your hands larger than the shoulders or turn the hands slightly open, really this practice is adaptive to your body. You're not fitting your body into some ideal shape. Last two. We're here to create space. Last breath in. Continue moving your hips back as you look forward, bend the knees and jump or step. As you inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, release crown of the head down. Externally rotate the arms, shoulders as you come up. Hands release, exhaling, Samastitihi. Surya Namaskara A. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale all the breath out as you come down. Inhale, lift your body halfway. March or jump directly, Chaturanga, your choice. You can also lower to the earth for cobra or upward facing dog as you inhale. Move the sacrum up and back as you exhale, downward facing dog. And take a few moments, breathe. So all of the toes in your vision spreading out equally away from one another. And you're reaching the heel, so from the front of the heel to the back of the heel, you're reaching the energy of the foot back behind you. From the front of the heel to the toes, you're reaching forward. So in that splittable joint, you're creating a lot of space and activation. Last two. Continue with your hips moving back, look forward, bend the knees, and on an inhale, march or jump to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, release down, Uttanasana. Open the arms, big inhale. Tadasana, Samastitihi, exhale. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hands come down to the earth as you pause. Inhale, halfway lift. Prepare for Chaturanga or plank position as you exhale. Either cobra or upward facing dog, inhale. And Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing as you exhale. Taking a couple breaths. So as your hands and feet press down, you get the arms and legs, the energy to lift up to the peak of your pelvis. Last three. Two. Pursue that movement of the hips back, bend the knees, look forward, jump or step as you inhale. Exhale, release, crown of the head down. Open your arms, biggest breath to the top you can. Samastitihi Tadasana, exhale. Last time, inhale, just with breath. Exhale. Inhale. Jump or step as you exhale, Vinyasa. Inhale, and we'll meet in downward facing dog on the exhalation and taking 5 breaths here. So as the heels reach back behind you, you're going to start to feel that you can pull energy up. So the top part of your thigh on all 4 sides is lifting upwards into the pelvis. And in the back of the leg, it's going to feel like your hamstrings are pushing your sitting bones up away from the back of the knees. See if you can maintain all of that lift in the back side of the pelvis as your shoulders, hands push the sacrum away from the shoulders towards the back of the room. Take another big inhale. Look forward, exhale, bend the knees, and on the inhale, travel, top of the mat. Exhale, crown of the head down. Urdhva Hasta, inhale all the way. Tadasana, exhale, Samastiti here. So here again, you can relax your arms by your sides, close your eyes. Take a moment and pause. Ground your awareness, ground your energy into the feet. Think of the energy of a mountain. The mountain is broadest at its base, at its feet. And on all sides, the mountain is slowly, energetically tapering towards the tallest point. So it is the energy of the feet opening and descending that allows the energy of the spine to rise effortlessly up. It is the spine eventually that pushes the head towards the ceiling, off of your feet. Last 2 breaths here. Tadasana. And now you're going to rotate the shoulders as externally as you can, and on the inhale, reach your arms up. Pause here with this inhalation. And as you exhale, you're going to move your hips as far back to the back of the mat as you can, and then bend your knees and bring your hips, if it's possible, parallel to the earth. If you can, get your thighs parallel to the earth, then engage the hamstrings, turn the sitting bones towards the heels. See if you can sit even a little bit lower, and now bring your belly down on your thighs and fold slowly, bringing weight equally hands and feet. Inhale, shift the hips forward, elongate. Jump or step as you exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva or cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha. And we're going to break with tradition for a moment and just lift your right leg up behind you. Open the hip to stack if that feels good in your body. Bend the knees, stretch your quad, and breathe. Breathing is one of the most important components to stretching the muscles of the spine. Last 2. And release. We're going right into the left side of the stretch. So when you're ready, pick up your left leg. If you choose, you can open, stack your hips, bend your knee, and take a couple breaths, breathing space into your spine, into your lumbar, especially near the hips. And when you're ready, release into a downward facing dog shape, evening out the weight in your 2 feet. Inhale when you're ready, you're going to come into plank position, top of a push-up. Reach the left heel back and bring your right knee towards your chest. You can keep your foot on the floor. Yeah. Keep your right knee touching your chest and see if you can draw energy up through your arms just a little bit more. Now keep your heel of the left foot reaching back and step your right foot forward between your hands. Very good. We're going to come up with the hands on the front knee. We're going to just take a couple breaths here. Feel free to bend the back knee if that enables you to get space in that S5 or S1, L5. So the S1 is the sacrum number 1, and that's the very top of your pelvis. The L5 is the last lumbar. So when we release the sacrum down and we lift the spine up, it actually creates space in that little transitionary place of the low back. If you can maintain that and start to press the back leg away from you, again, it's going to feel like you're pushing your heel into a wall behind you. Now when you're ready, if possible, take your arms up. Maybe with external rotation, you can bring the triceps into so much engagement, the hands press together. The inner shoulders, biceps press out as you look up. Last breath in. Exhale, both hands down. You're going to just simply come into a plank position here. Keeping your right heel exactly as it is, bring your left knee to touch your chest and pause. So the left knee and the right heel are going in opposite directions. Draw your inner shoulders up as much as you can to give you that space, and then place your foot forward between your hands. Walk your hands onto your left knee and take a pause here. So do what you need to do in the back leg, especially when you go into the first few lunges. Observe what's happening in your pelvis and the range of motion. So as we release that S1, that sacrum 1, away from the L5, the last lumbar, we're going to be able to create a space. That space allows energy to move. Okay, when you're ready, if you can keep the sacrum releasing down, you start to try the back leg going into a straight position. Once you find where you can negotiate space for the lumbar and the stretch in the back thigh, take the arms into external rotation and all the way up. Use the biceps pressing out against the triceps, hugging in to give your shoulders a little lift as you look up. And as you exhale, come into plank position, hands flat. Take a big breath in here, and you're going to lift your hips to down dog directly as you exhale. Stretch your heels way back, toes way forward. Now you're keeping your heels in an energetic anchor to the back of your mat, and you're coming into plank now as you inhale. So with the heels resisting back, direct your sacrum, same, S1, L5, creating a little bit of space. And now you're going to come into upward facing dog from here. So this opens up or extends the front of the hip. So we have the psoas and the quadricep muscles are two of the main muscles that we're trying to stretch. And as the heels reach back, as the sacrum reaches back, can you lift the energy of your spine up through the straight arms and shoulders? Take another big breath in. Some of you could go to chaturanga or go directly to plank from here. Inhale as you lift up and downward facing as you exhale. Inhale, lift your right leg up and back. Feel that your left heel reaches away from you and step your right foot forward between your hands. Turn your back foot at a 45-degree angle. It doesn't have to be heel to heel. It can be a few centimeters wider. And you're going to come all the way up, arms in external rotation. Maybe your hands can touch as the biceps resist out. Exhale, hands down. Step into a plank. And if you choose, down dog or chaturanga. So it's all up to you. Up dog or cobra, inhale. Downward facing as you exhale. Keeping your right heel anchored back, step your left foot. Turn your right foot 45 degrees. When you're ready, inhale, come all the way up. So you feel the sacrum releasing down against the back leg as your hands reach up and touch. Exhale, hands down, step into plank. You choose on an exhale, you either go to down dog or chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or urdhva, and exhale, Adho Mukha, taking a few moments in downward facing dog to breathe. So even as your fingers are stretching forward, use that to attract the spine, even the crown of the head, towards the front of the mat. The more the spine, crown of the head engages and moves forward, the greater resistance you can have at pushing the hips the opposite direction. Last two. 1, look up and either jump or step. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale for Uttanasana. Now sit way back with your hips, then bend your knees. And see, if you get your hips parallel, then engage your hamstrings, bring your sitting bones towards your heels. Maybe you can lower your hips even a little bit more and take your arms up, Utkatasana, stand up. And as you exhale, lower your arms down by your sides, Samastitihi. 1 breath, inhale, chair pose, hips move back and down as the arms lift. Exhale, abdominals to thighs, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway up. March it or jump back, Vinyasa, as you exhale. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Okay, so we're going to do what is a little bit more traditional in Ashtanga and not as common in Vinyasa flow, which is to first take your left foot and to turn your left foot here in down dog at a 45-degree angle. Keep your heel reaching down into the ground, look up, and try without lifting your left heel to step your right foot forward between your hands. Yeah, it's a little bit more challenging. Come up as you inhale all the way, biggest breath to the top. Exhale, hands down, chaturanga or downward facing dog. Inhale, cobra or urdhva. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Same thing, try first to turn your right foot at 45. Keeping your right heel anchored, look forward and lunge your left foot between your hands. Come all the way up, biggest breath you can, press into that back foot. Exhale, hands release. You choose down dog or a vinyasa. Inhale is cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing. Taking your time to breathe, recovery breaths. So with each and every inhale, imagine the bottommost side part of your ribs going laterally or sideways as much as they can. Last two. Restricting the movement of the abdominals so they are quiet, they're very concentrated. One more breath. Now look up as you exhale, bend your knees, and it's your next inhale, jumping or stepping forward. Exhale, descend on Uttanasana, and see how deep you can get into chair pose, Utkatasana. Good. And standing, exhaling, Samastitihi. We're going to do one more. Utkatasana, inhale, chair pose. Exhale, Uttanasana, relaxing your neck. Inhale, Ardha. Vinyasa, exhale, Chaturanga or down dog. Inhale, Cobra or Urdhva. Exhale, Adho Mukha, turn your left heel, step your right foot between your hands. Inhale, all the way. Exhale, Vinyasa, that means either down dog or Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva or Cobra. Exhale, Adho Mukha, turn your right heel, step your left foot, Virabhadrasana, warrior. Exhale, Vinyasa, again, choose to go to down dog if the vinyasas are too repetitive. Inhale. And recovery, breathing in downward facing dog, or if you're at home and you need a little less, you can always move towards child's pose to take some recovery breaths. Either way, the breath is happening in the posterior side of the rib cage. So you're breathing the kidney part of your ribs up away from your lumbar. Last two. One, lift your gaze and jump or march. Feet to hands, elongation. Exhale, crown of the head down. And deep chair pose, Utkatasana. And standing Tadasana, exhaling the arms down by your sides. Close your eyes, and again, we take a few moments to soak in this feeling of standing like a mountain at the top of the mat. The energy of your feet is going to inform everything else about the pose. How connected neurologically, energetically you are to your feet is going to show up in the energy of the posture. And see if you can feel that deep, relaxed feeling that happens in the shoulders and the muscles at the base of the neck when the spine becomes fully activated, when the postural muscles become the center of attention, the center of focus. The extremity muscles start to relax that deep tension that sometimes is held as a way of manufacturing energy. Just take the energy from the earth. Last two breaths. Now you're going to open your eyes, place your hands on your side hips, keeping your elbows pinned into a parallel position. March or jump your feet hip distance and parallel apart. Nope, you can stay facing forward. Yeah, there you go. Take an inhale, lift your spine again, rooting your heels into the ground. And then as you exhale, you're going to reach down and hold your big toes for Parangushtasana. Taking hold of the big toes with your first two fingers and thumb. As you inhale, elongate. So again, feel free to bend the knees if you need to. And on the exhalation, take a long, deep descent, crown of the head towards the center between your feet. Again, I advise the posterior method of breathing, so you're breathing the kidney ribs literally off your kidneys and down towards the earth, so you're tractioning out all that energy. See if you can mitigate just a little tiny bit the shoulders collapsing to the ears. So the inner shoulder blades will slightly resist the avalanche of energy coming down towards the earth through your spine. Last 2. And now keeping all this length in the spine, come halfway up as you inhale. We're going to change for Padahastasana. If you can, the middle toe in the middle of your wrist. Okay, take a nice long breath in. Exhale, crown of the head down again. And one of the wonderful things about this posture is you can feel how rooted, whether it's your inner heel or outer heel, sometimes we favor one or the other, but can you really press both inner and outer heels here evenly down? The amount that your heels go down is going to be exactly equal to the opposite lifting of the back of the knee, and eventually even thinking of the hamstrings pushing your sitting bones slightly up away from the backs of the knees. Last 2. And 1. Again, lifting, elongating your spine, hands to the hips on the exhalation, keeping your elbows parallel, stand with your postural muscles, and you can step or jump your feet together, Samastitihi. Now you're going to bring your fingertips together in front of your chest, elbows at the height of your shoulders. Bend your knees and lightly step or jump your feet 70 centimeters to face the right side of your yoga mat. Okay, so for those of you who use blocks, you're going to place blocks for triangle pose behind your heels and stretch your arms out parallel. Okay, and taking a couple breaths just here. Notice how when we separate the feet wider than hip distance apart, your body might tend to roll to the outside edges of your feet. So again, come back to the premise of Tadasana where if you have the big toe pressing down, it's equal to the outer heel. If you have the baby toe pressing down, it's equal to the inner heel. Press the entire foot down as much as you can. And now you're simply going to turn the left toes in towards the center of the mat, towards the right foot at about a 15 degrees angle. Now pick up your right toes and turn your whole right leg at 90 degrees. Okay. Take a big inhale. So you're going down with your feet. You're lifting that energy up your spine. Okay, and keeping your spine engaged on both sides, you're going to start to turn and pull the right hip towards the left heel, bringing your right hand down either to the tibia or to the block. See how much you can maintain the feeling of the hips shifting towards the back heel, and yet you're keeping a lift in your bottom right waist. So you're shifting and lifting at the same time. Last 3. Nice relaxed right shoulder blade away from the ear. Use the postural muscles. Turn your belly, maybe even your sternum and your chest towards the top inner arm. Last breath in. Simple, gaze down. Press through your feet and come up to standing. Turn your feet first to parallel, and we'll take a moment in parallel feet. So reground inside edges of your heels, baby toes. Outside edges of your heels, big toes. It's the down that creates the up. So on all 4 sides of the legs, you're lifting taller. Okay. Keep this feeling of the waist being even as you rotate your right leg into a 15-degree internal rotation. The left leg out at 90 degrees. Keeping the sides of your waist very tall. Next time you exhale, shift your hips towards the back right heel. Bring your hand down either to the tibia or the block. Okay. And press that inner edge of the foot down as much as you can. It is this big toe edge of the foot pressing down that is equal to the outer heel. Try not to go onto flat hands. Yeah, there you go. Stay up on your fingertips if it's possible. Breathe as the left shoulder blade relaxes down. Perhaps your belly, your sternum, and maybe one day your chest turns underneath towards the ceiling. Last breath in. Look down. And come all the way up next time you inhale. Turn your feet to a parallel position. Keep your arms as they are. You're going to turn your left toes in at a 15-degree angle. Turn your right leg out. Okay, take a big breath in. As you exhale, bend your right knee, if possible, 90 degrees. Now take a big breath in. Keep your right side waist engaged. And now shift your hips back towards the left heel. Bring either your elbow down to your thigh or your fingertips down to a block. Okay. Reach up through the left arm, externally rotate the shoulder, and then take the arm out overhead. Utthita Parshva Konasana. So again, the hips are shifting back towards the left heel, and the bottom right waist is lifting into the top. Last 3. If any amount, you can relax the right shoulder blade down and turn from the postural muscles of your side waist. 2. Now look down first, reach with your left arm behind you, and use that to help you come up from your obliques, straighten your right leg, and turn your feet into a parallel shape. Good. Last time, holding the arms out, pressing down with your inner feet, your outer feet evenly. Turn your right toes in at a 15 degrees angle. Turn your left toes all the way out. Okay, see if you can maintain the evenness in the sides of the waist. Even as on the exhale you bend the knee, you're keeping that feeling of upright in your waist. Now you're going to tilt or shift the left hip back towards the right heel and bring either your elbow to your left thigh or hand fingertips down outside. External rotation with the top shoulder, and then reach the arm overhead. So this is the Utthita, right? The extended Parshva side Konasana angle. Your hips are shifting to the back heel. Your side waist is lifting, so you have that nice little engagement in your bottom left side ribs. Last 3. Yes. 2. Turn your belly, turn your sternum, maybe look underneath your right armpit. Reach with your right arm like warrior 2. You're going to come up for 1 inhale, and now we're going to exit to chaturanga or down dog, so bring your hands down. Step back and either choose down dog or chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog, and exhale, downward dog. So take a couple moments and just breathe. Let the hips move even a little further back as you start to bend the knees. Look forward, march or jump on your inhale, top of the mat. Exhale, crown of the head straight down. Open your arms, big inhale, come all the way up. Tadasana, exhale, Samastitihi. So now we're going to move the arms into Paschimo Namaskar, reverse prayer. Start with your arms parallel, and you're going to do what's internal rotation, so turning the thumbs all the way around. Eventually your thumbs will be parallel to the ceiling. Now start to reach your arms back behind you, bend your elbows, and either place your hands into prayer behind your heart or 2 fists pressing together, especially if you have wrist problems. I don't really recommend the prayer position as much. And now with a very, very gentle elongation of the spine, feel your shoulder blades, like chaturanga, release down away from your ears. Now my understanding of chaturanga is that the upper part of the shoulder blades, like a heart, if you were drawing a heart, open out towards the top of your shoulder where it meets the arm. And it comes around towards the outer shoulder blade, just like the heart does. And at the bottom of the heart, you're bringing those shoulder blades towards the midline. So there's a slight tapering at the bottom of the shoulders. So see if you can maintain that and gently press the elbows slightly back towards the wall behind you. Very gently, not with so much force. And now you're going to step your right leg behind you about 70 centimeters. Okay, and you're going to turn and face now the back of your mat. Okay, and you're going to line up, not necessarily heel to heel, eventually heel to heel. You can have your feet a little wider than that. Okay. Again, really important when you observe your front foot that you're not rolling to the outer edge of your heel. Connect that right big toe down. Connect the inner heel down. even as the hip is pulling towards the back foot. So you're not letting it disturb the foundation. Now, take a big inhale, and I know if the quadricep is a little tight, it's hard to lift your pelvis up, but see how much you can lift your hips up, and then like you're going over a big cushion at your front hip, you're gonna fold over that front thigh. And eventually, you're gonna go so far forward that it feels like, okay, maybe I could start to go down a little with my abdomen onto that right thigh. Think of how much you can send your spine forward over that right big toe. Last two. Even as the top of the right thigh pulls in the opposite direction. Last breath in. Now you're going to use your postural muscles, engage the spine, come all the way up. Turn your feet around, spinning to face the front of the mat. Pressing again into that inside edge of the front foot. And making that feel solid as the top of your left thigh anchors into that back right heel. Go up, up, up as much as you can, and then you start to go forward. Think of your pelvis moving parallel to the floor as far forward as it can, and then eventually you might be able to come down a little bit. Our objective is to maintain the feeling that the hips pulling back and the spine moving forward have as much space as possible. Last three. The ever so gentle engagement, the bottom of the shoulder blades towards the spine. Two. And when you're ready, inhale, come all the way up. You're going to turn your feet to a parallel position. Open your arms parallel. Bend your knees and jump to the front of the mat. Samastitihi Tadasana. Okay, organize your feet, spreading out your toes. Chair pose. Move the hips as far back and down as you can. Utkatasana. Exhale, descend completely on Uttanasana. Inhale, you're going halfway. March it or jump it back as you exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, Cobra or Urdhva. Exhale, Adho Mukha. Inhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Now you're going to bring your back foot a little bit forward, maybe 2 or 3 inches closer. Turn your heel at 45 degrees, okay? And of course, you use blocks or elevate the floor up as much as you need to. Okay, it's the basic foundation that we just did in Parshvattanasana. So the inside edge of that front foot is anchoring down quite strongly. And in an equal and opposite direction, the hip is pulling back. Okay, now see if even with your fingertips on these blocks, if you can get the feeling of your frontal pelvis to lift up and go forward. Okay, forward away from that back left heel. Now you can keep your left hand as it is or take your left hand to the block on the outside of your right foot, you choose. And when you're ready, open up your right arm towards the ceiling, Parivrita or revolved Trikonasana. The top part of your thighs, where the greater trochanters are moving back. Equal opposition, the spine goes forward. Last 3. 2. And 1. Release your fingertips to the blocks. Bend your front knee and hop your left foot a couple inches back. So you're back into your normal stance. Okay, back heel at a 45-degree angle if possible. Good. And when you're ready, warrior 1. You're going to inhale, come all the way up. As much height as you can through the sides of the body. Lift on the inhale. Now release just your arms behind your back as you exhale. Cross the fingers well. Inhale, lift your pelvis up. And now go forward as far as possible. And release the crown of the head down. Taking your time. Last 5 here. 4. Gently move the shoulders onto your back. 2. 1. Simple. Put the hands down on the ground. Step into plank. Keep your feet a little bit apart, so a little wider than hip distance. And you're going to turn both heels over to the right. Push into your right hand, and when you're ready, if possible, open up your left arm. You can stay with the arm vertical or externally rotate the arm and reach it over your head. Okay, still feeling that same sense of the sacrum releasing in the direction of the heels, the crown of the head spine going forward, and then you can start to turn your belly, sternum. Maybe you look up if you have the balance. Take a big breath in, come back to plank position. We're just going to go to down dog from here. So separate your feet and move your hips back. Inhale when you're ready, come forward to plank. Feel free to use your knees. We're going to lower with control the shoulder blades away from the ears all the way down onto the earth. Good. Come into Sphinx pose, bringing your elbows a little bit in front of your shoulders, maybe 2 centimeters in front. The idea of Sphinx pose is that not only are you pushing down, but you're pushing down and you're tracking or pulling back with your elbows. That's going to help the frontal floating ribs to magnetize back towards your hip bones and for the hip bones to come forward towards the ribs. That magnetism creates a security for the lower back, which helps the multifidi to engage. So when we create space in those little transverse process, it allows the vertebra to stay nice and fluffy. Last 3. Toning these abdominal muscles are very important to the stability of the spine. Last breath in. And then release, come all the way down. Cobra pose from here. Bring your hands by your chest. Maintain the elbows parallel to the best of your ability. And inhale, come up. Maybe into upward dog or stay with cobra. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, Parivrita Trikonasana, step your left foot as you are ready. Bring your right foot a couple inches closer. Okay, and some of you might want to set up your blocks, either side of the left foot. Press into the left foot. Press into the right foot. So here we have all of the components in the feet of Tadasana, coupled with the feeling of the upper thighs being pulled back. So that's the greater trochanters, drawing back as a way to allow your spine to move forward. You decide with your right hand to stay on the right side or to move your hand to the outer left side of the foot. Okay. Keep your balance to the best of your ability. Take your arm up. Maybe if you're balanced, take your gaze up. That right bottom shoulder blade gently pulls back away from your ear. You're turning from the belly all the way. Last 2, very good. And then release, both hands down. Bend your front leg. You're going to set up warrior 1. So take your back foot 2 inches, 3 inches back. Set your heel on the ground and come all the way up, Virabhadrasana. As you exhale, release just your arms. Cross your fingers the unusual way. Okay, take another little lift of the pelvis here as you inhale. And as you exhale, head releases down inside left foot. Give yourself the permission to draw the arms up, away from your lumbar and overhead a little bit here as you breathe for 3, 2, staying down, exhale, release your hands to the earth. We're going into plank position. Separate your feet a little larger than your hips. Turn your heels over to the left side and come up with your right arm when you're ready. Stay with the arm vertical or rotate the arm externally and take it all the way out overhead. So by breathing, you might be able to find at the end of each exhalation, your navel, the upper hemisphere above your waist, turning towards the ceiling, your sternum, eventually your chest. You look up, very good. Come into plank position, and we're just going to go direct into downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your gaze, come into plank. Now, with as much control as you can, coming all the way down to the yoga mat. So don't let your hips come to the ground first. Let the hips, shoulders, everything come at the same time down. Okay. You can scoot your feet back a little bit, come onto your elbows, Sphinx pose. Press your forearms down, Pull slightly back against the sticky surface of the mat. Bring together the bottom front rib cage, frontal hip bones. See if you can maintain that very nice engagement in your abdominals, and then move the ears back. So this is not about lifting the chin up, but pull the ears back, engaging the upper part, the vertebra between the shoulder blades. Last 3. There it is. 2. And release all the way down. When you're ready, bring your hands by your chest. You're very welcome to stay with Cobra, or inhale through Cobra into upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, and we're gonna take a little child's pose here. So lower your knees down, point your toes, and let your arms rest. We're taking a few moments, just like we do in Tadasana, for you to observe, to breathe. The standing postures give us a very strong feeling of being secure and grounded. They also physiologically give us much more space in our spine than the other postures. So these are really great postures if you have any kind of weakness in your spine or rehabilitation in the spine that you're trying to achieve. Slow moving, deliberate standing postures are the way to create that stability and space. Okay, now you're gonna sit through. So from here you can swing your legs around, or you can come from down dog and jump through and sit. Up to you. Okay, and we're gonna work on Purvottanasana with the knees bent. So you're gonna bring your feet about hip distance or a little wider apart. Bring your hands behind you on the yoga mat, and you can turn your hands so the fingers point towards your hips, or you can turn the fingers pointing out to the sides, or you can also turn your fingers pointing back. So there is no wrong. Just find the one that works in your body the best. Now, you're gonna bring your sacrum, which is the pelvis, towards the back of the knees and up. And Chris, come down and bring your hands back maybe 2 more centimeters. There you go, good, and try again. Yeah, that's it, good. And now make your feet as strong in the downward press as you can. So if you want to try, lift your heels up into a high releve. Use that, push your toes, lift your hips as high as you can, and then set your heels back down. Press your feet, lift your hips a little higher, and then release. Very good, hips down onto the ground. Good job. Now you're going to stretch your legs out in front of you for a moment. Okay, reach your arms forward out in front. Okay, you're going to lean your torso back at a 45-degree angle and pause here. So we're just going to practice a little bit the upper body of Navasana. So your sacrum is releasing away from the lower back, but your sitting bones are pressing ideally straight down into the earth. This is going to allow those postural muscles along the spine to engage and to support you so you don't have to lift your shoulders or your eyebrows up. Last 2 here. Now, without changing anything, just bend your knees, set your feet flat on the ground. Okay, and then really slowly with control, you're going to lower your sacrum down onto the ground. So we're going to round that lower part of the back, and you're going to hold here. And then you're going to come down a few more vertebrae. So we're really going with deliberate, slow, controlled descent all the way down when you're ready. And when your head finally reaches, you're going to take your arms all the way up and over your head and stretch. And you can bring your feet a little bit closer. And then as you exhale, you're going to reach your arms forward and you're going to start to come up the same way. So very slowly in the sequence of the spine, try to keep the lower back as rounded as you can as you bring your shoulders up. And even if you need to, show holding the front of the legs and using that to help you come up. Yes, and then reaching the arms forward, and we're going to do it 2 more times. So as you exhale, you're going to go from a very engaged spine to a very rounded spine and engaged abdominal. Good. And then reach your arms overhead. You can bring the feet a little bit closer. That makes it a little bit more challenging. And then reach forward. So if you need to, just hold the legs to come up if you get into a roadblock feeling. Yeah, very good. Good. Reach your arms forward. Last time. We're going down slowly. Imagine it would happen one vertebra at a time, eventually slow, 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 slow. Very good. And then reach the arms back. Reach your legs forward this time. You're lying on your mat and stretching all the way out. Hug your right knee in. Give yourself a little squeeze. Now, you're going to lift your left leg a few millimeters off the ground. So really, the idea isn't that you're going up with the leg. You're still reaching the left leg forward, away from your left hip. Now, bring your hands behind your head. Interlace your fingers, elbows wide. On your next exhalation, try to lift your shoulder blades up, even if it's just a little bit off the ground. And then you're going to bring your left elbow to the outside of the right knee, and you're going to hold here for 5, 4, and if you want to, you can lift your right heel up a little bit and press the knee slightly forward, and now chase your knee with your elbow. 2, very good. 1, come back to the center and release your legs, release your arms, stretch your body again. And feel the legs reaching forward. Even as you bring your left knee in, the right leg is going to stay stretched. You can use your hands to hug your knee into your chest. And then just a few millimeters, lift your right leg and think of going forward with your right leg as much as you can. There you go. Bring your hands behind your head. If you can remember, cross the unusual way with your fingers. On an exhalation, the shoulder blades lift a little bit, and then you're going to bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. Think of your hip sacrum moving forward, the spine going back as it twists. Then maybe you can lift your left heel a little bit and push your knee forward and see how that right elbow might magnetize across a little more. Last 2. And release. One more time. Legs and arms stretch. And now hug both knees in. Give yourself a little squeeze. Again, you're going to bring your hands behind your head, interlaced fingers supporting your neck. On an exhale, lift your shoulders up a little bit and bring your left elbow to your right knee and your left leg out in front. As you inhale, bring the knee to the center, the shoulders to center. As you exhale, the right elbow across, the right leg forward. Good. Inhale, center. And as you exhale, you change. Inhale, center. Exhale, change. 3 more rounds. Inhale, center. Exhale, change. Inhale, center. Exhale, change. 2 more rounds. Inhale, center. Exhale, change. Inhale, center. Exhale, change. Last round. Inhale in the center. Exhale all the breath out, change. Inhale, center. Exhale all the breath out. Inhale, center. Exhale, hug your knees in. You're done. Yeah, that was enough. Good job. So into it. And then you can rock forward and back, and you're going to come all the way up and sit again. So we're going to practice the full Purvottanasana. So if you at home feel that the straight leg or full variation is too much for you, then just repeat the bent knees because it's just as good of a pose. But what this does is it opens up really well the frontal part of the hips and tones really well the upper hamstrings. So it's a great, great, great counter pose to abdominal work. So if you can keep your feet together, point your toes as far away from your hips as you can. And again, it's this feeling of the sacrum moving towards the back of the knees and up. There you go, up, come down and bring your hands back a little bit more, yeah. And if your hands are bothered or the wrists are bothered in the position you chose, just switch and change. Try different things, and when you're ready, come up. Yeah, there you go. And see if you can stretch the toes as far away from you as possible. Last 3, engaging the muscles of the spine. 2, 1 more, and release all the way down. Very, very good. When you're ready, choose an ankle to cross in front, bend your knees to your chest, and you're going to transition back into downward facing dog. You can either jump it through a vinyasa or just simply march it back. Take a couple breaths. With your next inhale, lift your right leg up. You're going to come into a low lunge, right foot between your hands, left knee on the ground. So pad the knee if necessary. Good. And then when you're ready, inhale, take your arms all the way up. Good. Now see if you can get that feeling of the outside part of your tricep muscles hugging in, the inside part of your arm, your bicep muscles resisting out. Go up, up, up as big as you can. Big inhale. And then as you exhale, release your hands down, and you're going to bring your right foot a little bit more to the right and your hands on the inside. Good. Let your pelvis start to release down towards the ground a little bit. So we're attempting to stretch out the quadricep at the front of the left hip. Last 2 breaths here. And then when you're ready, you're going to come down onto your elbows if that's available to you. If not, you're just going to stay up with your arms straight. Some of you could mitigate by just bringing a block underneath your elbows, lifting the floor up to you just a little bit. And then you're going to come back up. And if you're using blocks, you're going to set your hands and blocks on either side of your front foot. So bringing your front foot back in a little bit. Now we're going to shift the hips back, Ardha Hanuman, or if you're ready at home, full Hanumanasana. So extending the right knee, flexed foot. The back leg is in a great deal of extension. The front leg is in flexion at the hip. Okay, and it's the same work as we did in that crescent pose in the beginning. The more you can release your sacrum down, the more you're going to be able to get the spine to achieve that upward mobility, upward stability. Last 3, 2, and 1. Bring the right heel back, bend the knee. You can keep your hands on blocks. Bring your hands flat if you're using blocks. And curl your back toes under, and you're going to step into downward facing dog, and you're going to switch. So you're going to bring your left leg up, step it through. Right knee may be on the padding, okay? And you're going to take your arms out and all the way up when you're ready. So the amount that the triceps hug in is equal to the amount the biceps reach out or press out. And that's going to allow you to go up a little higher with your shoulders. Big inhale. Exhale, both hands down. You're going to bring your block, your hands to the inside of your front foot and your left foot a little bit out to the left side. So we're going to work a bit into the quadricep to prepare you for the half or full split. You can stay here or come down onto your elbows, and we'll show with the blocks it actually brings the elbows a little easier into the position if you have really tight hips. Spend some time just breathing and observing if there are feelings of stickiness or roadblocks. It's the breath that will get you through that, not forcing. Last 2. And then walk your hands in, separate the blocks either side of your front foot, and now we're working into Ardha or full Hanumanasana. So extending the front knee, flexed foot. Yes, and then using the blocks, or if your hands are on the floor very easily, using your hands on the floor to help you get that upward lift in your spine. The sacrum obviously has a challenge going down because if there's any tightness in the back leg, the leg that's an extension, it's going to naturally tilt the pelvis forward. So we want to come away from that forward rotation and we want to try to maintain backward rotation. Last 2. And 1. Bring the front heel in, bend your knee. You can use the block still if you want. Curl your back toes under, lift the knee up, downward facing dog. So if you're using the blocks, you can try to jump through and sit with straight legs. Or if your hands are flat on the ground and it's very easy for you to float through and sit, try that. Otherwise, just step through and sit. So when you're ready, on an inhale, sit between your hands or blocks. Good. Good job. Okay, and now we're going to go into bridge pose. So lie down on your back. Hips should feel a little bit prepared. Okay. Press your hands by your side hips onto the mat. Okay. And then when you're ready, again, feel that the sacrum is moving away from the lumbar, so it's in a backward rotation towards the back of the knees. You can cross your fingers interlaced like we did before many times in Warrior One and other variations. And again, it's that feeling in your upper back of the heart shape. So the upper part of the shoulder blades move away from the spine slightly, and then the lower part of the shoulder blades taper in like the bottom of a heart. Use the bottom shoulder blades to support, so you don't have to manufacture a lift with your shoulders or chest. Last 2. Release your hands and come all the way down. Okay, so now what we're going to try is coming into bridge pose, but with one leg. So you're going to bring your right knee to your chest. Press your hands on the floor next to your hips. And when you're ready, move the sacrum away from the lumbar and all the way up. And again, you can take your hands either interlace the other way, or you could just do simple karate chop arms, pressing your elbows down and having your hands hold your hips. If you get into a position here where it feels comfortable, maybe straightening the leg up towards the ceiling. And pushing the energy of the leg up, the hips up for last 3, 2, release your hands, release your hips, and then release your foot down. Okay, second side. So you have a new leg. Bend your left knee to your chest. Press your hands flat into the earth. Inhale when you're ready, hips up. Interlace your hands. Okay, if you feel comfortable and you're able to maintain equidistant height in the hips, push your left leg up. Good job, that's it. See how much height you can get in the pelvis. Last 3, 2, release your hands, let your hips come down, and then let your foot come down. Very good. Okay. When you're ready, stretch your arms over your head, so you give your spine a little bit of length here. And what I want you to feel is, similar to the lunges that we did, the tricep, which is the outside part of the arm and shoulder blade, is firm and hugging in. Okay. Against that firm hugging in, the inner shoulders, biceps press out. Do your best, maintain that, bend your elbows, and place your hands by your shoulders or ears. So again, the firming of the triceps makes the elbows stay parallel. The inner shoulders, biceps pressing out, keeps the shoulder blades from crunching in around your spine. So when you're ready, just start in bridge pose and see if you can maintain this arm position in bridge pose. Get the hips to be the highest part of this asana. Then put the weight in your feet and try to stand up in your legs and come to the crown of the head as the second stage if you're coming up. Bring your elbows in parallel, and as that is maintained, resist your inner shoulders out, press with your feet, and maybe you can start to come up into Urdhva Dhanurasana. Take a couple breaths here. Okay, so the energy of the spine moves away from the sacrum moves away from the spine. Last breath in. Lift your chin, head up, land on your shoulders super gentle, and take a couple recovery breaths here. Don't worry if you're not coming up off the crown of the head. Stay with the crown of the head for a little while. Work the arm position, the leg positions. The stability of the arms and the legs will then help you to activate the spine more. Okay, and then again, last time, arms are going to stretch over your head. The tricep muscles equal to the bicep muscles. Bend your elbows, place your hands. Observe in your peripheral gaze what the elbows are doing, and you're going to actively release the sacrum away from the lumbar. As the hips lift as high as possible, come to the crown of the head, and maybe you stay here. Some of you are going to be able to maintain the elbows position and press into your feet and stand up in your hips. Very good. And breathe. So as you push your hands down evenly, your feet down evenly, you're going to bring energy up the arms and legs to the spine. Last 3, 2, bring your chin all the way up to touch your sternum and release down. Very good. You can walk your feet apart. Let your knees drop in for a couple of breaths. Just gentle breathing, so you're not staying too heavy in the breath. You're letting go. You're starting to release the adrenaline. And then you're going to heel toe your feet all the way together and just bring just one knee into your chest. Take a couple breaths there. So gently stretching that side of the back where the knee is coming in. And then switch sides. Just very gentle stretching. Now go back to the first leg again, and this time you're going to take the leg vertical and the hands behind the quad or behind the hamstring. Push that leg up as much as you can towards the ceiling. And then switch legs. And now both legs are going to go into the vertical position. That's it. You're going to push the legs away from the hip socket. So you're using the deep muscles in the pelvic floor, the gemelli and the obturators, to actually lift the weight of the femur bones up to push and create space in the hip socket. Now you're going to bring your arms, 2 choices. One is hands down by your hips. The other is arms overhead. Okay, so you choose. On an exhalation, you're going to lower your legs 1/4 of the way away from your belly, and you're going to hold this position. So this is how we counter the back bend, is by using the abdominals. If you're able to feel the frontal hip bones and the bottom front ribs magnetizing together very, very intelligently, try lowering the legs a little more, just a few degrees at a time. So what we know is that we maintain the stability of the core. So we add, we don't subtract the stability of the core. Maybe you can lower the legs a few more degrees. Last little bit here. Please try to breathe as you're doing this. Maybe you can lower just a little bit more. We have last 2 counts. And reach the legs away from you as you come all the way up. Hug your knees. Give yourself a very big squeeze. And you're going to rock forward and back on your spine. And coming all the way up and sitting in Dandasana when you're ready. So Dandasana is very similar to Tadasana, where it is going to challenge us because this blueprint, it really starts in our feet. And even though the feet don't have something to press into, you have to activate as if you're pressing your feet into a wall. So you're pushing a wall away from you with your leg bones. And as the legs reach forward, your abdominals are going to start to have a backward contraction. So we move in equal opposites. That backward scoop of the belly is then met by the force of the lumbar coming in and up. So we have a sandwiching effect in the lower part where the lumbar doesn't have as much support. There's no rib cage, there's no pelvis. When you're ready, you're going to take your arms out to the sides, all the way up. Get as much lift in the spine as you can, and then as you go forward on an exhale, reach as far forward as you can. When you can't go forward anymore, then you can start to slowly, deliberately bring your lowest part of your abdominals down onto the tops of your thighs. Feel that it's not the shoulders manufacturing the movement, but really this is the postural muscles, the muscles that run parallel to your spine. Last 3. Two more breaths. And start with the vertebra between your ears and come up slowly. And we're going to move now into Baddha Konasana, so feet together, knees apart. Sometimes you might need a little something underneath your hips to give you just a little bit of elevation. This will help you to activate your spine. Hold on to your feet, the baby toe edges precisely. Inhale, start to gather that length in the sides of the body. And then as you exhale, you're going forward. So think about going as far forward as possible. Again, we're going to be very bored if we just round the spine and touch the forehead to the floor. But to think of the body moving forward, away from the hips. Two more breaths. Starting with the vertebra between your ears, inhale, come all the way up. And you're going to help your legs with your hands to come together. And now you're going to turn and face the right side of your mat like you did in triangle pose. And we're going to open up the legs into a straddle position. Again, sit on something. You know, if your hips are very blocked in this way, go to a wall, lie down, and put your legs in a konasana shape at the wall instead. And just bring your hips as close to the wall as you can, keeping your legs straight. Okay, here we're just going to take, so you also have a choice here with putting the hands behind you, especially if you're using a cushion or something. You can put your hands on the cushion and you can feel the legs as they release down. The spine can go up in the opposite direction. So sitting up is again fine and absolutely acceptable if this is as far as you can go. A few of you can try just taking the hands in between your legs and working again this feeling of moving forward in your spine. So if you're extremely flexible, I would say your best bet is to put a block between your upper thighs so that you don't do too much of a bend in your lower back. Think of the lower back more lifting and moving parallel to the ground rather than dropping like a hammock down. Activate your cute little feet. So it's one of those weird feelings like your feet aren't exactly touching the floor, even your toes to the block. Yeah. So even though your feet don't have a floor, you have to imagine a floor. And this is really the imagining part of the yoga practice is so good for your brain. To imagine your body doing something before it ever does it is actually one of the best things that we can do neurologically for our practice to understand how to get to where we want to go. Last 2 breaths here. That's it. And then when you're ready, you're going to walk your hands in. And you're going to, with your hands under the back of the knees, manually bend your knees. There you go. Okay, and then you can swing your legs around towards the front of the mat. And I'm going to finish you guys off with a hip opening of your choice. So at home, you could do single or double pigeon. You could just do Sukhasana, seated cross legs. You could also lie on your back and do the figure 4 stretch. So Chris, do whatever hip opening you want to do here today. But when you do external rotation coupled with forward flexion, it really does help, in my opinion, to prepare the body for like meditation if you're going into a seated meditation after this, or really also for Shavasana. So do whatever allows you to get into that space of passive energy, of being the observer, letting go of the doer or the reactive part of your personality. Krishnamurti talks about how the highest form of our human intelligence is engaged when we become the observer, when we can observe without analysis, without judgment. Notice how the breathing, coupled with releasing, mentally, your intention is to release all the little tense energies that have accumulated in the different areas of your body. These poses just seem to work for a universal group of people. We universally have tightness in our hips, in our lower backs. So if you can imagine those sensations releasing, first in your mind, and eventually it will start to happen in your body. And you're going to come either slowly up from the seated position, or if you're lying on your back, release your feet down, and you're going to change sides. So for a few minutes, you'll be able to get right back in to the stillness. And approaching it slowly and just with the observer, the non-doer mind. Dona Holoman calls this undoing. You have to undo certain patterns before there will ever be space to create a pattern that is best suited for your highest wellness, your highest healing. When we learn to release tension, that can be on many, many levels: physical, energetic, mental, emotional tension. Learning to create space and let it go. Ready, you're going to start to slowly release the pose you're in. If you're on your back, just stay on your back. If you're seated, take a moment, extend your legs out in front. So if you are feeling a preference for seated meditation instead of Shavasana, go ahead and do that. If you would rather lie down on your back for Shavasana, go ahead and come onto your back. Big part of this practice is taking a few moments at the end to just be still. Even if you don't like it, understand that there are great benefits. So making yourself comfortable, arms, hips, legs, shoulders. Finding a position where your forehead is not lower than your chin, so maybe some of us need to place a little something under the back of the head. When you physically feel relaxed, you can open your mouth and just let go. Shavasana. Bring your awareness back to your breathing. You can take a slightly larger inhale. Feel your body. Notice how it feels, this practice inside. And you can start by gently moving your toes, fingers. When you're ready, bending your knees, placing your feet so your knees are upright. And reaching your arms if you desire in a nice elongated position. Stretching your spine. And bring the knees towards your chest. When you feel ready, give yourself a little squeeze. So you take as much time as you need to come over to one side. And then stay as long as you need there. Whenever you feel ready, you can come up and sit. Comfortable, crossed position in your legs, tall spine. Hands in Anjali Mudra. So you're nestling the thumbs down at the base of your sternum, gently drawing the elbows in so you don't look too much like a little chicken. Yeah. And then bringing your gaze towards your heart. Looking into the heart, observe what you see. Bringing your head up, namaste.